Hello and welcome to a hot and sticky edition of the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast, brought to you today by SteelSeries and their new range of Alias microphones. They're mics made for gamers, and a big shout out to SteelSeries for continuing to support the show. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Shannon.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
Kieran.
Hello.
And Brodie.
Hello.
On the show today, we're going to be talking about our official Press Start 2023 Game of the Year list. Brodie, we held that especially for you, seeing as you're the organizer of it all. Can't wait to chat about that one. And we're going to be talking about our official predictions of 2024 as well, which is always a fun one. But first, Brodie, Happy New Year. Glad to have you back on the show. How was your break? Did you manage to play any cool games?
Only one I've played so far this year is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, but obviously I cannot elaborate on that as yet. So, yeah, that's about it. Been a hot, sticky summer so far. Work's been very busy, so yeah.
Yeah, we're all feeling the heat a bit today. It doesn't help that I've got a gaming PC kicking out heat under my feet. I wish I could have a fan in here, but I don't know. Don't know if that would work. Stephen published his review of Prince of Persia on the website, giving it a 9 out of 10 this past week. James and Kieran, I believe you two have played a bit. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on it. Did you agree with Stephen's review? Kieran, perhaps we start with you.
Yeah, I mean, in playing the full game, I think I've only really gotten up to where I was in my like sort of lengthier preview a little while ago, which is maybe like the first 4 hours. And I mean, still as good as it was when I played that. Playing on the PS5 where it looks fantastic and plays it, I think it's like 4K 120 FPS, which is really impressive. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. Like the combat is super fluid. Like the traversal is a lot of fun. I'm really intrigued by the story, and I definitely want to see more of that because it seems like it's going to go to some interesting places. But yeah, I don't know if James has maybe played more than I have, probably.
I don't know, but I'm enjoying it too. It's good. I like how I feel like when you think of Prince of Persia, like obviously I'm old, so I remember playing the old one and it was just like really tough platforming, and I know that so many games do that now. But it's just nice to, I guess, them to kind of go back to what Prince of Persia was in a way. Like obviously there's a lot extra added in terms of the combat, which is mechanically like quite deep. Feels very like DMC-esque, Devil May Cry. But yeah, like I'm really enjoying it. Like I was also surprised at how interested I was in the story, and it is its own storyline from Sands of Time. So I think if anyone's hung up about that, like don't be like it's totally its own thing. Yeah, like I really recommend it. I think it's a little bit cheaper than most games too, but it's still quite lengthy. I think Steven's main criticisms were like not enough location variety, and I can definitely see that being a thing already. But at the same time, like looking at it from another perspective, I feel like having the cohesion there makes sense. Like you're on this mountain, right? Like you don't want to just randomly find, I don't know, like a forest full of unicorns when it's like meant to be in the middle of Persia. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know every Metroid game has like, say, like a lava world and a water world, and that makes sense in the context of those games. But here, like, it kind of makes sense to keep it all kind of similar.
Yeah.
But some really great options for people who, obviously, if you find this kind of thing a little bit intimidating with the combat or even the like exploration. There's a lot of accessibility options that let you kind of skip a lot of the harder stuff if you want to still just experience it, which, like, I mean, obviously, I'm lucky enough to be good at games pretty naturally, so I don't need them, but, like, I think it's a good thing, because I think this would put a lot of people off otherwise, because some of the platforming is really tight. And this is the team who's made, you know, Rayman Origins, Rayman Legends, and you can see that kind of really tight platforming pedigree there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really recommend it.
It excites me.
Starting out strong.
I'm on a plane this week, hence why we're recording the show a little bit earlier, if you clue in on that. But I was kind of hoping to play this on the plane, but I don't know if it's going to line up. I could potentially pick it up whilst I'm away and get it for the return journey, but I don't know. Am I going to miss out playing this on the Switch, do you think, Kieran, seeing as you've kind of called out the fidelity of it on PlayStation? Like,
I don't think so. Like, I think it plays it like full resolution, whether you're playing handheld or docked at 60 FPS. So you're still getting a really good experience.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
cool.
I'm pretty sure the lead platform actually was Switch. So it's actually built from the Switch for the Switch to be 4K 60, not 4K. Whatever the Switch does. Like you'll still get full clarity and stuff. It's not like a kind of watered down port or anything. It was literally made for the Switch, and then they kind of worked their way up. So that's why
I did download the demo
ones.
at the very least, so I'll give that a blast on the flight out. I'm looking forward to it. James, I was curious actually because I was listening to Tim Geddes of Kind of Funny talk about his experience with the game, and he spoke a little negatively of the kind of opening kind of couple of hours of the game kind of being a bit slower, and he was kind of waiting for the abilities that kind of came later in the game. I know that's kind of a thing that we've spoken about game, like finding a nuisance with games in the past. Is that much of an issue here, or did you not really have that same experience?
I feel like that's kind of the point of these. I mean, I know when we talk about it before you, and it's always we've been talking about like open world third person games or first person games,
and quite often sequels to stuff.
This is like a Metroid game, right? Like it basically, or even a Castlevania. Like I think it's fine. And one of the things that this game does really well that all of those other games don't is if you find like a door you can't open or something, you can take a photo of it. And it will be on your map. Yeah. So if like you find a new power up or something, you can basically go over your map, look at all your photos, and kind of physically see all of those areas where you've noted that for yourself. And that's a huge thing to me. Like, it's a really simple thing, but it makes a lot of sense. And that's the thing about this game. A lot of the stuff is just it's stuff you've kind of seen before, but tweaked in a way that makes more sense. But to answer your question, like, I mean, that's kind of the point. Like, it's like complaining about an RPG having like leveling up or something. I don't like, to me, it's so fundamental to it. Like,
like but it sounds like it's a natural enough progression rather than being a little too slow. That sounds good.
Like it doesn't. I mean, sure, it sets up the story and there's a lot of cutscenes. It's a little bit more cinematic than most Metroid games. Yeah. I just came off Blasphemous 2, which was also the same kind of thing. But all of these games, once you hit that sweet spot where you've got maybe one or two power-ups and you can kind of go in a lot more places that you wanted to, it gets really good. So I respectfully disagree, but
I feel like I don't know about you, James, but I feel like it lets you explore quite far as well, even without getting a lot of the early abilities. Like, you can kind of go in the direction of the story, but it also lets you kind of just wander like a surprising amount.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. I'm one of those people who like I really want to try and do everything I can in one area before I go to another. Yeah. So I create this like mental fork in my head where like I find a new area, but then I had about 4 going on in this game. Like, it does let you go in a lot of directions pretty early. I do suspect maybe he's talking about the opening before you actually get to the mountain, where like they kind of set up the characters and the war and all that stuff. But that's just like the cinematic fluff that I think it has to have, being a, AAA kind of game of this ilk,
Yeah. No, excited. I'm excited to get to play some more of it. Not far away now that it comes out. It's later this week, right? Like Friday it comes out?
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday release. Okay, cool. Sick. Very soon. Kieran, on the topic of previews, I do want to ask you about Pacific Drive as well. The previews, including yours, dropped this past week, and the game is suddenly very firmly on my radar, kind of based on some of the footage I've seen cropping up on TikTok, other written reviews I've seen as well. What's made you so excited for the game?
I think, like, for me, it's just like I was always like a little bit interested, because it is kind of like a really unique setting where it's like a run-based survival roguelike game, but you're essentially going out in your car into this like exclusion zone and kind of seeing how far you can get before you collect resources and head back to your base. And like that idea in itself was pretty cool. Like, the setting looked cool. But after playing the preview, I think the thing that makes me most excited is just how intrinsic the car is to the experience. And I'm not necessarily like a gearhead. I don't know the first thing about cars or how they work, but I had to learn for this game to like a small degree. But it's just like it just turns this vehicle into basically your safe haven. And like at any point in the game, whether you're in the garage like tirelessly working on it and pouring all your resources into it and painting it and loving it, to like when you take it out into the exclusion zone and everything's dangerous, and like the best thing you can do to survive is literally just stay in your car, because that will protect you from like basically everything. I think this is really like just a really unique sort of gameplay loop where you're going out and you're seeing how far you can get, and your car's protecting you, and then when it can no longer protect you, it's like, okay, I've got to go back. I've got to tinker with it. I've got to get under the hood, make sure everything's running smoothly, and then do it again. I think a lot of people are going to spend a lot of time like forming an attachment with this vehicle in this game that's just about weird shit happening all the time. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just got such a unique vibe, and I really want to see more of it.
Are there any like notable kind of threats, or is that kind of quite surprising?
Yeah,
as you go through it?
It's everything is a threat in the game when you're like outside of your little garage. Like you'll be driving, you kind of just driving through like wilderness and like overgrown sort of towns and stuff in this zone that they've sectioned off because of some, you know, nuclear event or whatever. And so anytime you go into a building or you drive towards something that doesn't look normal, like you don't know what's going to happen. At one point, like these big green like nuclear balls started flying towards my car, and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to die. And then like they all attached, and like my car started healing itself.
Oh, right.
Like the parts of my car were like regenerating because of these things attached to it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like, you know, 5 seconds later, a giant magnet flew over and like dragged my car off into the sunset. So like, it's just, yeah, it's very unpredictable. And I think that plays well with the idea that your safe space is literally just in this little shitty station wagon.
Yeah. I'm so intrigued by this game. I can't wait to get some time with it. There's this one clip, I'm not going to remember who shared it, unfortunately, but they were like just driving down the road and came across some crash test dummies, and they climbed out of their car to go and check out these crash test dummies and discover that they would move when they weren't looking at them, like classic Weeping Angel style thing.
Hate that shit.
Yeah, I hate it. So terrifying. But like, I'm immediately into this game, and I kind of got the vibe that like this was something the player hadn't ever encountered before, and it was something different and just like one of many things that could kill you in this game. And having played a little bit of Lethal Company this past week for the first time, like what's so special about that game, I think, is just like how many surprises there are and weird and wonderful ways in which you could die in the blink of an eye. I kind of get the sense it's going to do something a little bit similar to that. So that excites me. Shannon, how are you?
Fantastic.
Any of these games intrigue you? Do you want to play some Pacific Drive or Prince of Persia?
I did play a little bit of Prince of Persia, and it is cool. And yeah, Pacific Drive, I don't know, I've liked the look of it, but yeah, like getting deep in with the car lore doesn't...
I don't see that being your game. That's why I laugh.
Pacific Drive or Prince of Persia.
Both, really. None of them are tennis games.
Pacific Persia.
No.
Yeah, put a bit of tennis in there and I'm in. Yeah, Prince of Persia's fun. I don't think it started slow at all, but that's just me. But yeah, Pacific Drive looks cool, I think.
Yeah,
I love
it was really not one I was.
I'm a big Pacific Northwest person, so
Yeah.
like I like that vibe.
Just like games set in that vibe.
Yeah,
that area.
That's kind of what Alan Wake 2 was a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the threats, but I don't even really like cars, so I mean, I drive a car, but I don't like. Do you know what I mean?
Do you like driving it?
No, I'm not like, whoa, cars.
Okay, guys, we're not yet at the stage where we need to fill for time. We're doing okay, all right?
Yeah, feels like it's
I
something
thought he was
happening.
setting up a segue for me, like the whole Pacific Northwest thing, and then he
Maybe
just
I
started
was.
talking about
Speaking
cars.
of potential games of the year,
Let's talk
Yeah.
about our official list of games of the year in 2023. I don't know what do we refer to the list as a whole, Brodie? Is it our top 10 games of the year? Press
Yeah,
starts.
I think so.
You obviously
Press Start's top
you're
10
the
games of the year.
orchestrator.
There's 10 there.
Yeah.
There is 10, yeah. You're the orchestrator of this.
In part,
Do you
yes.
want to kind of remind everyone like what the process is, and were there any kind of intricacies to it this year that you observed?
Okay, so yeah, like all past years that I can remember, like say the last 3 or 4, the way it works, and Kieran made it very easy and seamless this year for me. Usually I would just get all this info dumped on me and put it in a spreadsheet, but did up a Google form this year, and everyone submitted their top 10 games, which were weighted through 1 through 10. So obviously your first pick would be 10 points, and it'll work backwards from there. And then we dumped it in a spreadsheet from there and came up with our top 10, of which there was a few ties throughout, which we settled on our Facebook Messenger group with a few polls, and then outspat the 10. There it is. So,
and worth noting that it's not just us 5 that
there's 11 of us.
And I'm sure we'll address the tiebreakers as we kind of get to them as well. But coming in at number 10, it was Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Did any of you have that on your list? No? So that got all of its votes from elsewhere?
James did at 10.
James did.
Yeah.
Brody, just give me can you just give me my list quickly so I can comment?
I can just it's in a spreadsheet. I don't know how to copy and paste your shit out of a spreadsheet.
Send me a snip.
Just would it be on your list today? Like, is it on your list? Just
my
give
God.
give us a punt.
I think it was at the bottom of my list. Is that correct?
Right.
It was.
Brody?
It was the last on your list.
It remains at the bottom of my list. Like, maybe I would slot in. I played Blasphemous this month. Maybe I'd slot that instead. But overall,
it's too late.
We're not here to talk about Blasphemous. Let's talk about Armored Core 6 and why that was, at one point, one of your top 10 games of the year.
At this point. Do you think
do you want? Why did I put it there?
You're the only one that can really speak to it, James. You're the only one that had it out of us 5.
I mean,
so
it was a fun video game with robots, and I enjoyed it. Obviously, not as much as the other 9 games I picked, which is why
I'm getting the sense that
too.
like number 10 is like a fitting position then in your mind for where this game came in.
To be honest, I don't want to talk about how I decided because I think that might stretch this episode out a bit more. But like, I played a lot of games last year, and I went through and thought about which ones I really liked and did it in that order. And then there was no ties because I was just one person deciding.
This is a very diplomatic answer.
Arguing with yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. And sorry, it's the 10th one. It's like I don't love it, but I don't hate it. But it was better than every other game that I didn't put on that list. It's probably the best
you're not
way to
surprised
describe
that it maybe didn't land a bit high given From Software's
no, not at all.
history?
It's like super esoteric. The story is really boring and dry, and but the combat is fun. Like, I feel like it's only the little FromSoft people. I was going to say like little monsters, the little Frommies,
The Stephen Impsons of the world that dragged this into the top 10.
the From Frothers, like Steve and Harry, to a lesser extent me. That's probably why.
Yeah,
it's like less
very
like
fair.
It's less like cool than Elden Ring was, you know?
Yeah. I feel like you have to be a particular kind of level of From Software in order to get behind the giant mech ones as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, let's keep cracking on with this list. At number 9, it was Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I was gutted to see not get any higher, personally. That was, would you believe... Actually, no, it wasn't. It did change my list, but it was number 2 on my personal list. I absolutely adored this game, the twists and turns that its story took. I love how they built on everything that was introduced in the first, with the platforming sections that I think like went missed a lot in the Force Tears that were throughout the game. Went through and platinum this later in the year, and watched a couple of people replay it as well. And yeah, the set pieces that they had, really kind of strong characters. This game had a lot going for it, and I didn't really have a lot to complain about it. James, I know you felt a bit different. I could see it on your face.
Itching to say something.
Your tongue. At this point, do you think 9 is a fitting place for this game to land?
I don't think... Brodie, please confirm. Was it in my 10? I don't think it was.
It wasn't.
It was not.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so...
Did anyone else have this in their 10?
Shannon had it at 4.
But I can't... Wow, okay. Let's
No,
Let's only reveal numbers if the person wants to. Like, I'm not in the mood to ask you about this.
What's the problem?
Yeah, why are you so embarrassed about the number?
Because I've put it that far in my review. Like, I'm not willing to go back into last year and argue.
why are we doing this at all?
You're worried
Why are we
you
doing
should
this
be,
at all?
held to account for it now.
I don't know, Brodie.
You've already changed your mind.
Correct.
Anyway,
Future Shannon is past Shannon.
Wasn't in mine. Sorry, Ewan. It's nice to see Shannon did it so high though.
Maybe Shannon and I just dragged it into the top 10 then with our high votes. I hope that was the case.
It's nice, that feeling, isn't it? Feeling like you had an impact. Really seeing it come to fruition.
At number... Oh, sorry. Go on. Say more.
Just go on. No. I was going to say, I liked it. I thought it expanded on the first game. It wasn't perfect. Like, still think the map had issues.
I think we should move on before this episode becomes as bloated as that game is.
Yeah, go on. Final Fantasy.
Just because the plant collection is in there, James, doesn't mean you have to engage with it, all right? Nothing was left on the chopping room floor because they put some plants in there, all right? You can tell we've had this argument before. At number 8, we had Final Fantasy 16. Kieran, I know this is one that probably got a vote from you.
It sure did.
Where was this on your personal list? Were you disappointed to see it not come in any higher than number 8?
No, I'm kind of surprised it made it on there at all. But I did, personally, it was my number 2 on my list, which I recognize is probably a little bit of a fanboy bias. But when I think back to the games that I enjoyed playing the most in 2023, I feel like it deserved to be up there for me. I think Harry probably dragged it up a little bit as well to get it into that 8th position.
It was number 5 on my list as well. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it dragged a lot. Like, the pacing was kind of a bit all over the place, but the highs were just that high that it was made for some of my most memorable moments this past year. I think this is kind of a fitting place for it to land. Brodie, any Final Fantasy on your list?
Absolutely not, no. I'll tell you what was on my list. Number 7, Dredge.
Yeah.
Woo! Tell us about Dredge. Why did you love Dredge?
Featured on my list. It was just one of those indie games that struck me just right, and it sort of came back into my mind right ahead of voting because they brought out obviously the Pale Reach right at the end of the year, so sort of got me back into that. And it's just the game is a vibe, obviously. It's got that really cool Eldritch style horror fishing game. The fishing is fun. I love the collecting side of things. I do need to go back and finish it. I only played it on Steam. I actually want to get it on Xbox as well. But it's just a vibe. It's a fun time. Did anyone else have this from memory?
Yeah, I don't think I had it on my list, did I? But I did recently go back to it on the portal, and it is a very good game.
You had it at number 8, Shannon. Just let me know.
Almost back on. It's a good game. Stands out in my mind from last year, firmly.
Yeah, it's not one I've got around to playing, and I think I need to rectify that sooner rather than later. Maybe another game to load onto my Switch
for your flight. That'll be
That's a good flight game to maybe break up if you get Prince of Persia as well.
Yeah.
Just go between the two. You're sorted.
I'm going to have too many games to put on the flight at this rate. All right, number 6 then. And this is perhaps where it got controversial, at least looking at our Facebook comments. And that is number 6, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Not in the top 5. Jaws hit the floor. Shannon, what was your reaction to seeing this come in at number 6?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, the most telling thing that I feel like this is okay for me personally is watching Kind of Funny's top 10 and they count down. It got to number 1 and I thought it was Mario Wonder and totally forgot that they hadn't even gone through this game.
I did the exact same thing.
I literally didn't even have a thought of it. I don't know. I'm surprised it's not higher. I'm surprised it didn't get dragged higher, but for me, it wasn't the best game. I tried to go back to it multiple times and just couldn't really get back into it. I don't think, I don't know if it was a worse game than the first, but I don't think it was as groundbreaking or impactful in the year that it released. Just probably because it came out with the Switch and we hadn't seen anything like that in a portable form. I just don't think it had that long-lasting impact as the first game. But it was also just a really good year last year as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel you. I think for as impressive as all the kind of new crafting mechanics they added into it and how robust the design was to facilitate all those new mechanics, it just didn't really have kind of staying power that maybe Breath of the Wild did, and maybe that's just because it wasn't as much a revolution as Breath of the Wild was to the games that came before. Yeah, I don't know. I just, maybe even it's more of a recency bias thing, like looking ahead at some of the games we get to read out, maybe with the exception of one, like they kind of fell later in the year, and perhaps they were just kind of resonating better with us as we put in our voting as a result. But like we've seen games in the past, and there's another game still to come that like stuck around and kind of remained at the forefront of people's minds thereafter. I feel like the discussion around Tears of the Kingdom kind of fell off after the initial kind of weeks, first month of its launch. And yeah, maybe it's a kind of a testament just like how good a year last year was. The fact that this came in at 6 when it is like arguably one of the best games ever made, certainly technically. How do you feel about Tears of the Kingdom landing at 6, James?
Like, fine. Obviously, I reviewed it and really enjoyed it in isolation of everything else, because obviously nothing was online. Like, I feel like that also... I think once somebody here was like said that all the stuff they saw online overwhelmed them. But like I really liked it. Where was it on my list, Brodie?
It was 4th on your list, James.
4th. Yeah. So the games that I obviously put above that, I just really had to whittle it down to like games where I think about replaying them again, and if I dread doing that or look forward to doing that. There was a bit of a slump in Zelda for me where like I probably wouldn't want to play that again, but overall I just think like you said, like the mechanical robustness of it really set it apart from Breath of the Wild in a way more so than Breath of the Wild did, if that makes sense. Like it's just the crafting and stuff is like next level. There's literally no other game like it. But yeah, but then like we've said, was a really good year for games in terms of the actual games, and I think it does just highlight that. Like Zelda was still pretty high on my list personally, but other games just trumped it for me. So, like I think making it to the top 10 is still a pretty good achievement. Like other years, I'd be like, ugh, like that's pretty low, but this was a really solid year. Even if you just look at Nintendo themselves, which we'll obviously touch on a little bit later, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like coming into the year, everyone would have kind of assumed that this was going to be the number one game of the year again. Like a lot of people kind of had that assumption, and I think the longer the year went on, and the more kind of games that kept coming out, and some of them were kind of surprises just how good they were. Like that became less of a given. So. I'm sure there's still, and we certainly encountered them in the comments, is right, like a vocal, passionate community of fans that like love this game, and for them, like I don't see any reason why it couldn't be number one. Like I think you could make a very
I wouldn't disagree with anyone that said it was their number one.
Yeah,
all.
Absolutely. I don't think you got much of a like cause to argue that. But yeah, there was just a lot of good games. All right. Anyone else got anything to add on to Zelda? Should we get to the top 5? All right, coming in at number 5, we had Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
I love how Ewan's doing the voice.
Yeah.
As if this wasn't revealed.
As if this is a Jeff
Number
Keighley
5
production. Marvel Spider-Man 2. I guess I think another one that probably surprised people that it wasn't a little bit higher. Shannon, I remember you having a fondness for this particular game. Do you think 5 is the right place for it? Would you like to have seen it a bit higher?
I think the list is fine. I had it higher because often I just think about what I enjoy throughout the year, like what I genuinely just sit down, like playing through, finish, and then, like James said, want to keep playing. And I think Kieran said for Final Fantasy, like what you just personally enjoy. That's often what I come down to with these lists. And Spider-Man was high on that. I don't think it was perfect. Like I think story was a little bit disjointed compared to the first game. Like I think that it did a lot, like with characters and abilities, but I just think it was a bit all over the place, which I recognize. But in saying that, I still wanted to keep playing it every night and see it through to the end and beyond. So ultimately, it was high up on my list. But I think 5 is fine. Like I acknowledge that all of the games above it did things differently. And even though there's some sequels there and remakes, I can acknowledge that they're all deserving in their place.
There's nothing wrong with sequels or remakes.
As though Spider-Man 2 isn't a sequel.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Spider-Man 2 is number 3 on my list, and for context, Tears of the Kingdom was number 4, so I put it slightly above it in the same kind of way I guess they appear in the top 10 here. I feel like both games were like improvements on the previous entry in like every way. Spider-Man 2 for me was just like a more fun experience. Like I think it was nice and condensed. I love the way that the side missions kind of opened up new story avenues and kind of maybe teased at things to come, or just kind of like had nice character beats within them. Like there wasn't anything I didn't really enjoy doing in this game, and like getting the platinum kind of just in over 30 hours, like it was just a really well polished package. And everything that they added from the first, which I guess I won't go into too much for like sake of staying clear of spoilers, like just kind of it kept upping the ante and doing so in like a really well paced way. Kieran, how did you feel about Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I reviewed it for the site and I gave it a 9 out of 10. It came in at number 8 on my list. Purely because, like everyone said, like it's not a game that I probably see myself coming back to as much as some of the others, or still thinking about as much as I think about some of the others on my list. Like for me, it was just like really, really solid 30 hours of swinging around New York, you know, creaming over the ray trace reflections on Venom's butt cheeks, and then like when it was done, it was done. So yeah, I feel like really good. Not as memorable as some of the others, but yeah.
Brodie, I'm sure this would have featured on your list as well.
Yeah, it's scraped in at number 9 for me. Look, it's hard to say. Like, I liked the first game so much that while I acknowledge that this is better in a lot of ways, like it ups the ante in so many ways, the story fell a lot flatter for me. And there was a few things they did with, say, a couple of the characters that I didn't love. Like, I feel like Miles really took a backseat in number 2, which, while he had some good moments and he probably still had the best arc in the game, I feel like they wasted a bit of screen time on nonsense shit for Peter Parker that I didn't really care about. So, look, it was still a fun game. Didn't love everything it did, but look, Insomniac still did the thing and put out a great superhero game. So.
I will say, you kind of reminded me now, like Insomniac really trying their hand, like the third person over the shoulder, kind of very story heavy sections with Peter.
Yeah, like at the carnival.
Kind of moseying about his house and stuff. Yeah, I could have maybe
doing
done
taxes.
A little less of that. Doing taxes, yeah.
Yeah.
Got enough of that in my own life. I don't need to worry about that in Spider-Verse as well. All right, moving on. Number 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The best Nintendo game of the year, according to Press Start's list here.
You heard it here.
James, I'll come to you next on Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Do you think this is a fitting place for it, number 4?
Yes. I do.
Did you personally place it higher?
You had it one spot higher than Tears of the Kingdom at number 3 yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I've never had so much fun with the platformer. I think that's the difference for me. I don't know if anyone else felt the same. I never really gelled with the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Like, I played them for a few hours, and then I just was like a bit over them and never had fun. But Wonder just played beginning to end with a few people and really enjoyed it. Had non-stop fun. Level design is really tight. The variety in all the levels is really good. There really wasn't much I didn't like about it. So yeah,
just
I think
keep constantly throwing new things at you as well. There's like all these just kind of fun.
And I know it's like people are like, "Oh, it's just a 2D platformer," but like it's like that. I just think it just does so much to kind of challenge what a 2D platformer can be, which is why it's so good. There's really nothing else like it. I think the last thing I played that was similar was probably Rayman Legends, which was a long time ago.
I loved how much of a challenge was in the game too. If you wanted to go and seek it out, like if finding everything mattered to you, or completing some of those like challenge levels, like there was a really hard game in there, but at the same time, it was also a very family-friendly game. And if you wanted to play with your kids, or in my case, your mum, it was very well-suited for that. Yeah, really good game. Anyone else have Mario Wonder on their list?
Yeah, it reminded me a little. Yeah, it was at number 7 for me. It sort of reminded me in ways of adjacent, sort of to like It Takes Two, because there were so many moments in It Takes Two where like they'd craft like tiny little segments of the game that would take them ages to make, I'm sure, but they're there for like 30 seconds, but they serve, you know, such entertainment value. And I feel like the Wonder Flowers are very similar to that. Like there's just shitloads of creativity like poured into every single one of those moments that last like 30 seconds, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. And it made it a very memorable platformer for me.
At number 3, we had Baldur's Gate 3. The game of the year for many people, but not for us. It was number 3 on our list.
To hell with this.
Kieran, how do you feel about Baldur's Gate 3 landing here at number 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not surprising that it's in the top 3 somewhere. I think it's probably one of those things where if more people on the team had actually played through it and finished it, it might have even landed higher. But it's such an overwhelming and kind of intimidating game that I don't blame people for not having even fired it up yet. But three's a good spot for it. Like, it's just such a overwhelmingly well put together RPG. I still need to put more time into it myself.
Played 100 hours of it, still need to put more time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. James, do you share the same sort of sentiment?
James, you just in case you want to know, you had it at number 6.
Oh,
did I?
I'm surprised by that. I thought he would have had that higher.
I thought I did I thought I did too, but I am happy with that because I liked Baldur's Gate. I really liked it,
Except for the last act.
Yeah. I've already talked about it. Like, I just had such a shit time, and I know that like it's been patched now, and a lot of it is like fine. But that was my experience. Like I played it at launch, I paid full price for it, and I put 60 to 70 hours into it, and then in those last 15, 20 hours, everyone forgot everything glitched, everything bugged, like it was just a fucking mess. So that's just I can so respect the mechanical depth that Larian put into it. Yeah. And I'm sure if I were to go back to it now, it'd be fine. But obviously at the time, that's when I did the list. That's why it was a little bit lower for me from all those other games. Yeah. It's because at least all those other games like worked for me. That was the bar for me. So yeah,
This game will maybe one that I eventually get around to playing more of, and I feel very differently about, but I just couldn't bring it. Couldn't find it in me to play it this year.
Interesting. And it's the spread of votes for this game is really weird. I'm just looking at it now. Like, it gets all of its votes between like 2nd position and 6th position. Like, no one voted it their best game of the year. Not one person.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it didn't get anything lower than say like 3 for each person, basically. So it's but it gets a lot of like 2s, 3s. So yeah, it's just one of the. It's probably one of the more
a lot of like
spread out.
Okay, that makes sense then.
For me, like a lot of it was because I don't usually like these games, but obviously I played it because everyone was talking about it. Yeah. And I did get hooked. It just ended like with a wet fart.
Yeah.
But the whole thing before that was like pretty solid. And I like I said, now I'm sure it's fine.
Brodie, did I have it on my list at all?
You did not.
Okay.
Really? Oh, okay. Wow, that surprises me.
But it's a big game too, and like I'm surprised I finished it. Like I don't know how far you got, Kieran, but like I just think when it came out, there was just so much shit happening like all the time, so I really had to struggle.
Yeah,
and I feel like it was kind of one of those games that like I certainly didn't plan for. Like it kind of came out, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this game is like unreal," and it just kind of felt like it rode this wave like from there, with more and more people coming like on board with, but. Yeah, for me, it's just like I played the tutorial and then never picked it back up again. Like turn-based, I just really struggle.
No,
I know.
No, it's so annoying.
I know I piss everyone off, but I know I'm not the only one.
There's dozens of us.
Yeah, it's just I need stimulation.
Oh my god.
At number 2, we had Resident Evil 4. Shannon, what did you make of that?
Yeah, I feel like it was it number 2 or 3 on my list, maybe?
Do you want to know?
It was high up. Yeah, it was high, wasn't it?
6th on your list.
Okay, wow. Yeah, it was good. I feel like Resident Evil 4, I feel like that was a period I wasn't really gaming, so I never got to enjoy it on the PS2 or GameCube, but obviously had been the one that everyone loves, so was keen to go and play it once it came out. And yeah, very good. I feel like every Resident Evil game that I've played in the last 3 or 4 years obviously has been great. I've enjoyed, there's a clear vision there with what they've been wanting to do with these remakes. And RE4 doesn't miss. I think it's a good mix of like action, still spooky in areas. But yeah, right from the get-go is just a good time.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this. It was number 8 on my list. I kind of feel like it probably benefited from just appearing on everyone's list, if I was to guess, Brodie. Like, I don't know if anyone
not
would have
everyone's,
put this,
but
like...
3 people gave it their Game of the Year, including
Really?
one man present. Also, Camilla and Stephen gave it their best game for the year. So, yeah. No, it featured, but, it wasn't on everyone's.
Yeah. James, it was your personal game of the year then?
Yeah, it was. Why are you laughing? No,
You're just so predictable.
Okay. Like, sorry, it was good. Like, I can't help that. No, just really, really solid game. Just from beginning to end, really fun. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say that hasn't already been said. Yeah, great game full of fun experiences.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, like I like, it frustrates me that people say, "Oh, it's just a remake," but like, it's like so much more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love just like what for me it's kind of just like this gradual build, I think, between each of these remakes, right? Like, especially for me, kind of coming into Resident Evil with 7 and then kind of going back and playing the remake and then playing Village and going back and forth between these older and newer games. Like, I just kind of love seeing the lineage of where it's come. I love seeing the kind of fresh take on it.
I think the thing with 4 as well,
every
is
game's nice progression from the
so
last
much of that game, the like charm and the goofiness to it was like such a thing, like, that kind of made RE4 stand out. And I think obviously before that, all the Resident Evils in the new era are all very serious. So like, I was very impressed with how they kind of kept it goofy without ruining that kind of tone for it.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the finest of balancing acts, and the fact that they got that, to me, is like quite an achievement. And yeah, just endlessly replayable. Like, I just don't think of any bits in that I hated, Whereas in the original RE4, like, there were so many bits that I hated. But I think I might be in the minority there. But yeah.
Kieran, was this an appearance on your list as well?
It was not. But I also haven't finished it. So that's it's there in the backlog for me one day in a dire time to replay it and actually finish it.
I was like enjoying this game so much. This was a game, James, I played with my usual gang of Resident Evil mates, and I was like, when are we next getting together to hurry up and finish this game? Because like, I want to see how it finishes up. Brodie, did you play it? Did this feature on your list?
It didn't feature on my list. I have played it. I've played maybe the first half hour. I just didn't get enough time in it. I think something else popped up that I had to review at the time, and I just never went back. So again, it is on the backlog. And
would I be right in thinking then that Press Start's official number 1 game of the year was the same as yours then?
It was.
Alan Wake 2. Let's go. I was stoked to see this come in at number 1. It was also my number 1 pick of the year, despite all the issues I had with it around launch. And Kieran's. Nice. James, where did Alan Wake 2 appear on your list, if you don't mind me asking?
Second.
Brodie.
Second. Okay, right.
Yeah,
So it's
the
just in
hottest of dead heats in my mind.
Yeah, I can
did my
imagine that
list.
being a tough decision. Brodie, let's go back to you though. Why was this your number one game of last year, and why do you think it's ended up being press starts as well?
Recency bias. That's it. No, look, I don't know. I'm a big Alan Wake nerd. I wouldn't say I'm a huge Remedy nerd. I have become after the fact. I went back and played Control, and I want to play Quantum Break again, all that sort of stuff. But geez, they do like a narrative adventure like very few can, I feel, and like the dueling narratives of Alan and Saga, like it was just great. The way they kept it feeling like Alan Wake, but obviously gave it that survival horror tinge. Like it was just an engrossing experience from start to finish, and I can't wait for the DLC. Like I'm foaming for it. So
yeah, I am just such a Remedy fan now, and I feel like this game is just like the amalgamation of everything that they've kind of been refining like over their last few games, and like just like everything just hits and is kind of so kind of memorable or like quirky in its own sort of way, but they come together so well, which I think is probably kind of down to just the direction of it. But like the art direction is kind of so moody and striking, and obviously kind of draws from a lot of source material as well, or like reference material. And like the music, and obviously the musical section's kind of like well talked about now as well. Like all of these things individually look really bizarre, but they just come together in such a unique way. I loved the combat of it as well. Like it's another game I platinumed this year, and kind of going through that and like doing all the nursery rhymes and encountering what kind of enemies then spawned and how they kind of fitted into that story as well was really neat. Yeah, I'm definitely waffling at this point, but I just loved everything that this game presented, no matter how weird and wonderful it was. Shannon, you're laughing at me. Did you get around Alan Wake? Did it appear in your list?
I don't know if it was on my list. I honestly cannot remember what I put.
Do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
It was number 2.
Fantastic.
Memorable.
And I admittedly haven't finished it, but yeah, the original was one of my favorite games, but I just have been meaning getting around to finish it. But I think The Last of Us came in right as I went to, and a few other things over the break.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great, and I'm glad that I don't think anyone would have predicted that Alan Wake would have appeared top of people's Game of the Year list. I think it's a miracle that we got this game, and fantastic that it's a home run.
Yeah, I think like it only really kind of crept up because I hadn't played the original. Like I played Control, but I kind of just watched a YouTube video and fired into this one because I enjoyed Resident Evil 4, and I was like, I'm ready for another survival horror game. Let's go. Particularly one that looks as kind of pretty and interesting as this. And I just became like so enraptured in like this story in the world. Why is everyone laughing at me?
I'm wondering what these two are giggling at.
Like what's
these giggling goodies?
I'm just hot, and I'm also just thinking about the fact that we have another like massive segment after this.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
why
and I
not?
was banging on about a game we've already banged on about. All right, well we can. Do we want to try and tackle our predictions, or are we all overheating?
We can.
Nah, we're doing it.
Does anyone just while we're here,
right.
we're already sweating and dying. Does anyone want to shout out any other games in their top 10 that didn't perhaps get a look in?
There's one on my list that I was talking to James W about that like sadly got overlooked a lot last year, and that's Season: A Letter to the Future. And I think the developer unfortunately suffered some layoffs, maybe even had to close shop at some point over the year. But
shit.
If anyone's into those kind of just very vibey, story-based, exploratory indie games, that's one worth checking out. And I'm surprised Cocoon didn't make it onto our top 10.
Yeah, that would have been close, I feel. Like, it had a few high-ish votes. Like, it was my number 5. So definitely shout out to Cocoon. And, man, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, my number 2 game of the year. Man, what a DLC.
I want to go back to that, yeah.
Is that would that have been eligible? Like, that's murky. To me. I don't know.
Who cares?
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
It's the same game. Like,
Fight
it didn't
me, bitch.
release.
Nah, finish your game the first time. You don't get a second free chance. Like, soz.
But Resident Evil 4 though, woo!
It's a new game. Are you for real?
I'm just stirring the pot.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Take your spoon and shove it. Stir it elsewhere. Honestly,
Sit on it and stir.
I would just like to quickly say I liked Alan Wake 2 because I don't want anyone to think that I didn't. Like, I think it's interesting that like what Resi 4 did better, Alan Wake 2 didn't do better. Like, I feel like they both complement each other very perfectly.
Yeah.
The combat is so good in Resi 4, but the combat in Alan's bits were just like so whatever.
I like how he's using Resident Evil to compliment
Yeah,
Alan
I
Wake.
know. You just using it to hold up Resident Evil 4. Yeah.
I just wanted to provide some insight into why like I picked one over the other.
Thank you.
Because it was a very tough choice.
Yeah, I definitely, like, given that Saga had kind of more of an arsenal at her disposal, like, I enjoyed those fights a lot more. It was a bit repetitive with Alan's, that's fair. But, it was so interesting to play these two games in the same year because, like, Resident Evil 4 is obviously this reimagining of a game that kind of ushered in this wave of survival horror games, and now kind of Alan Wake is like... Why is Shannon laughing at me?
I don't know.
All right.
We're back talking about Alan Wake.
It was
again.
a good list. What a year.
Let's move on and talk about the year ahead. Before we do that, though, I do want to tell you once more again about the SteelSeries mics that we're using on the show. As we've spoken about previously, we're big fans of SteelSeries products, and their new Alias mics maintain that level of quality that we've come to expect from everything that they do now. They're perfect for gamers like us that want hassle-free, professional-sounding audio quality, and paired with their Sonar software, you can really make the most of that larger capsule within the mic to improve how you sound and manage all your outputs and inputs in one convenient location. It's helping bring you the show here today, and a big shout out and thank you to SteelSeries for helping us out. All right, 2024 predictions. We're definitely going long. We're all hot. Let's rattle through these. I'm super keen to hear what you think's going to happen in the year ahead. So let's go one at a time. And Shannon, let's start with you. What's your first prediction you want to share with us? I'm going to keep record of these, by the way, this time.
Oh, good.
Awesome. My first one was the PS5 Pro will launch with Ape Escape 4 as its flagship title with an unbelievable amount of monkeys on screen at once with full ray tracing goodness.
An unbelievable amount of monkeys.
Unbelievable.
There's a monkey on this screen right now.
Wow.
Thanks.
I know you hope that Ape Escape will be the launch title. Is this kind of just like a
It
hopeful
launched with the
prediction for you,
DualShock
or-
controller. Why not bring it back to launch a new console feature of some kind? The fans are clamoring for it. There's never been a better time. Bring Sony Japan back and bring Ape Escape back in one fell swoop, and everyone will be happy.
I think you're on the money about the PS5 Pro coming out this year. That features one of my predictions as well, but we'll see about Ape Escape.
To be serious about it, I do think there'll be some kind of like demo reel mini game collection that will feature Ape Escape. I think there'll be something they use to showcase like the power
maybe
of the console.
like a playroom kind of style thing.
Yeah, I think an Astro's Playroom type of demo that features Ape Escape.
Yeah, I like that. Brodie, what's your first prediction?
Even reading this now, I've regretted already. Of the first parties, it'll be an Xbox release for once to get the highest Metacritic score of the year.
Oh,
I also had that as one of my predictions. Exactly.
Wow.
Word
Really?
for word. Yeah.
I don't know which.
Are you logging that as one of yours as well, Shannon? Am I...
I better think of something different, I think, but just wanted it out there. If it's not true, then I didn't have it.
Do you have a game in mind that you think it might be, Brodie? It's not part of your prediction, but like...
It'll be either, and it depends on whether it comes out, obviously. There's rumours that a new Forza Horizon could come out this year. They usually do quite well. Other than that, I'm hopeful that Hellblade could do well.
Yeah. I kind of feel like if it's gonna... I feel like this year is a good chance for that happening, right? Purely because of...
Because of everyone's
releasing, I would say.
I was thinking Avowed. To be honest.
Avowed could be, yeah.
Not Indiana Jones?
I don't think that's this year, but...
Yeah,
Nah.
we're obviously recording... I mean, this episode will be out before the
true.
developer direct, but I'm sure we'll have a greater sense of that next week. Kieran, what's your first prediction?
Let me think about which ones of these I actually want to read out, because I wasn't sure how realistic you guys went last year. I couldn't remember quite how pie in the sky things were, but
they were all over the place.
Let's go. Switch 2 gets announced. It's called the Super Nintendo Switch. It launches in October for $549 with Super Mario Space Odyssey as a launch title.
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to
hit
every...
There's a lot in there. There was a lot
One of those
there.
is going to be right.
He's aimed the price.
What did you call Mario Odyssey?
Super Mario Space Odyssey, like a mix of Galaxy and Odyssey.
Space Odyssey. That's fucking sick.
That would be fucking cool.
love
Less
that.
a prediction and more just like what I want.
Yeah.
I hope all that comes true.
Well, look, I'm just going to read one of mine then, because I had one very similar, and that was the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released, I'm going to say by December, and Mario...
in 2024.
What? I mean, like, it'll be out before the month of September, so like
Right.
November launch date at the latest. And Mario Odyssey 2 will be a launch title. That was my prediction. Yeah.
Cute.
James, what have you got?
I'm going to go to Nintendo one for me then as well. I said the Nintendo's next console will be revealed, will come out sooner than we'll think, but it won't reinvent the wheel and will be a much safer console.
Yeah.
But there's going to be no gimmicks. It's just going to be the Switch, but like...
What's sooner than we think? What do you think?
Just sooner
Tomorrow.
than... Whatever you're thinking,
Yeah,
sooner.
Sooner
What
than
do we
November.
That's the beauty of it. It's whatever you want it to be. Nah, I would not be surprised if it was like announced in March and out like 2 years later, 2 years later,
Yeah.
2 months later.
100% agree. I was like thinking about my prediction, and I was like, maybe we'll see a new Mario Kart, like that'll kind of come with it. But I sort of feel like the next Mario Kart maybe won't come about until we see a more like transformative change to the console, and I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be that. Like, I think it will just be
It'll definitely have a
beefed-up,
Mario
powered
Kart.
console.
There's
Mario
no
Kart
chance
8
that
Deluxe
there's not going
Plus.
to be a Mario Kart.
But
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm assuming whatever games come out for the
But there,
Switch
like,
2
wasn't
will be
one on the
backwards
Switch.
compatible, and I just don't.
Technically.
Yeah, I get that, but so much was added to Mario Kart 8 over the time. Like
Like
I'm
they
not
doubled
saying-
the content.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, but you know what I mean. Like,
No, I don't.
they're not going to not do a Mario Kart, I think.
Maybe they're doing a
But
Diddy Kong
we'll
Racing.
see. It's not going to be at launch.
I don't. Yeah,
that'd be
it's certainly not going to be a launch. Yeah. Cool. All right, so that's
me,
everyone's
my backup?
first. Back to Shannon. Yep.
So I went the Nintendo Switch successor will have some kind of gimmicky accessory or feature, and then
Wow.
I did bonus point an attachment for a second screen.
Oh,
Time to DS it up, babies.
I love how you're adding a bonus point. I also added a bonus point for one of mine as well.
I don't know. I'm in two minds about this. I do think I think this is going to be like one of the most fascinating launches, because I think we've spoken about like how they've traditionally it's gone like okay bad with Nintendo launches. So I think they're nervous about this.
Sorry, I just had an
Okay,
idea.
And I do think they're going to play it safe for the most part, but I do think they're going to have something that's like either optional or just part of a launch game, or something that like puts it on the map for more traditional gamers, like to give it that marketing element, because I just don't think like a 4K Switch is going to be enough. But then they also have to play it safe to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think that's where Kieran might be on the money with like a Super Nintendo Switch, and it's kind of a pro model, kind of a 2. Yeah.
It's hard, tricky.
You just gave me an idea with the second screen thing. Maybe they just like, hey, do you have an old Nintendo Switch? You can like use that as a controller for your new Nintendo Switch, and it's basically the Wii U all over again.
But it could just be like, I think that would be perfect, because what are they going to do with
Your Switch,
units?
your like original Switch could like essentially become the PlayStation Portal for your
That's what I mean. I don't think it's going to be something that you have to have for every game. Like, it's not going to be but I think they will have something that is like a cool gimmicky feature for families that's utilized with a game.
All right, Brodie, what's your
Continue.
second prediction?
I think Ubisoft will find a new parent company this year.
Ooh, I feel like you've predicted this before.
I haven't.
Every year until it comes true.
I don't think I have.
What about 2024 though? Like, makes you think that this is the year? Like, is it just kind of the
good a year as any, baby.
industry at the moment?
Yeah,
Ubisoft's
consolidation's
not had a
running
great
right.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prince of Persia not saving.
And
No.
I mean, I feel like Avatar has sort of flopped for him. Maybe, I don't know. Has it done well? I don't know.
Isn't Prince of Persia like an EA thing now?
No, it's Ubisoft.
Okay. What am I thinking of?
What did EA call
Is
it?
it something like an EA original
underneath.
recently?
I mean, it
Gives
says
that
Ubisoft
vibe. I'll
original.
give you that.
That I've just got it straight confused with that original title then. All right. Kieran, number 2.
Let's keep talking hardware. I wrote that Xbox will still announce their round digital only Series X that leaked last year.
Oh, I forgot all
but
about that.
it's going to come later, and it will have some kind of performance improvement to compete with the PS5 Pro. And bonus point, given the form factor of the round Series X, I think they'll also do a Series X kettle to complete the kitchen experience.
Yeah,
An air fryer.
Ooh, air fryer's a good call.
Philips do like circular air fryers.
Doesn't the fridge become an air fryer if you leave it on too long?
Yeah.
Well said. James, your second prediction?
Yeah, it's gonna make tobacco noises. No, so I wrote this in a fever pitch, so I don't think I'm gonna revise it. I initially said that PlayStation was gonna have a quieter year for games, as they kind of try to pedal back to good games, not games as a service, as they were trying to. But what I might revise that to is I think we'll see a lot of reissues of games to show off the power of the Pro.
Okay.
So you get a lot of new games from PlayStation this year. I think they're going to Nintendo Switch it up.
Okay.
Oh, we might get a
Can
Resistance
you give us
collection.
a number? How many new original games will they have?
I can't see
Less
that
than.
far. My powers are limited.
Yeah.
But
He's
what do you mean?
rubbing your crystal ball.
What do you
Less than 3, less than 1, less than 5
I reckon you'll have at least 3.
re-releases.
Yeah.
Oh, at least 3 re-releases. Okay.
Well, we're already getting 1. Sorry, next week. So that's
2 to go.
No, mate.
No, the is PS5 Pro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine there's so many of these hang on the PlayStation 5 Pro being real. It's going to be
Yeah,
and
true.
the Switch
if that
too.
doesn't
If neither of those things
materialize.
happen, we have no predictions to look at.
Well, I'm going to stay in that same thread then, James, with my next prediction, and that is Ghost of Tsushima 2 will get announced with a release date later this year. It'll come out in 2024. And my bonus is that it will have a performance boost for the PlayStation 5 Pro. So I'm kind of in the same sort of thread there. But I reckon that'll be their one big end-of-year game. Shannon. 3. Final prediction.
My final prediction, and it is a bit crappy because I just thought of it. Then Grand Theft Auto 6 will be announced for the Nintendo Switch successor at the launch of that console. I think Nintendo, if they're moving to the 4K space, I think they always make a big deal of third party. Initially, I think that's their way to be we're on par with PS5 and Xbox, even though we don't have as much power. These games are coming, and I think there's nothing better to do that with than Grand Theft Auto 6. They've put Red Dead Redemption, they put the GTA trilogy on Switch, so I don't think there's any issues there with child friendliness or whatever. I think that this will happen and they will announce it. Whether it comes out or whether it's a cloud thing, I think that's a 2025 problem, but I think it will be announced for the Switch successor.
I like
minds
it.
will be blown.
It's a good prediction. Brodie?
Yeah, this last one's shit. I don't know why I went with this, but it'll do. I'm checked out. It's almost 11 o'clock, guys. Microsoft will launch a new mobile client or pivot their existing one to further harness Game Pass as well as their newly acquired King catalog.
Hang on, sorry. Say at what client? Mobile client?
They're going to make a mobile client to a newer one to harness all their King catalog and all that sort of stuff. But I think they'll probably just release all that and pivot it into their existing one. Maybe come back to me. That's not a good one.
No.
No. I was just trying to understand it. I was just not following along.
I think
I'm also waiting.
Rebirth themselves into the mobile space.
Yeah, I do feel like the Xbox app
I cleared it up.
isn't great. Like I can
Placentia
totally see
everywhere.
them kind of becoming more of like a storefront style of thing.
That's what I meant. That's a more eloquent
yeah.
way of putting what I meant.
I don't think that'll happen. Can I counter predict?
I don't know. But
No,
they will not be rebirthed, and they will stay in the womb. For the
My third
entirety
prediction
of the
is the
stillborn.
opposite of Brodie's. That won't happen. Cool. Kieran, that's your turn now.
Which one of these am I gonna? I think that this year is the year that Ubisoft will finally show us Assassin's Creed Infinity, and it will do that with the first look at both Assassin's Creed Red and Assassin's Creed Hex.
Is that before or after
Okay,
they
cool.
find their new parent company?
That's after they find a new parent company.
During,
when,
even, maybe.
when Sony buys them for the live service push.
Oh shit! Can Sony
Yeah,
afford them
so-
though? That's the question.
With that announcement, this is kind of how I imagine it going down. It'd be like, hey, this is Assassin's Creed Infinity, like Infinity. Here is like everything that it does, and Hex and what's the
Red.
other one? I've blanked. Red
Yeah.
will be like the first two games to launch into this system of sorts. Yeah, cool.
Simultaneously, I think.
So,
Or at least-
Release. Do you think we're
Yeah.
getting release dates this year?
Ooh.
I think so.
Yeah, I think Red is this year, even, maybe. But that's not one of my official predictions. In typical
Yeah.
Ubisoft fashion as well, all of that will leak through an uploaded PowerPoint somewhere
Yeah.
that leaks from some meeting.
GameStop
Or
Brazil.
from an Australian
Yeah.
influencer?
Yeah.
From their buyout announcement, like the pitch deck or whatever gets announced. Yeah.
Yeah, they just do it in a bar for all to see. Someone snapping photos at the same time. James, what's number 3? Third and final.
I'm just going to say these two because they'll be quick. So the first one is, we'll see the new Bioshock, but it won't get a date.
Whoa. The time has come,
Where?
but we won't get a date.
Where are we going to see it?
Writing this down.
SGF.
Like Zimbabwe. Oh, like a place. like an event.
What office?
They're flying everyone to Antarctica. No, I don't know. I 2K. What do they do? Where are they? I reckon something like... No,
Some
they'll
like
create
Game Fest
some
sort of
new
time?
shitty, like, Bioshock Direct format or something for it. You know? So that's my first one. My second one is Konami's major return to games in both Silent Hill 2 Remake and MGS3 Remake. Will both release, but they'll be critically unsuccessful.
Wow.
Whoa.
What does that mean? Like
what
sub
about
70?
Yeah.
I think commercially they'll be fine because, you know, you can roll shit in glitter and people still buy it sometimes. But I don't think it'll review. I don't think they'll review that well. I don't think they'll review as well as the original games did. Which sounds crazy, but RE4, other remakes have done it. Do you know? So like,
Yeah.
It's all about RE4
Yeah.
again.
So I'm a little bit like
Okay,
the
shut up,
Konami
Brodie.
prediction. Is that a fourth prediction, or are you tacking
It is a
this
fourth
onto
prediction.
a third?
He's made 4 now.
That's just
All right. Okay.
Shannon, what's your
James
fourth?
can have 4.
I'm just trying to keep up. Well, speaking of Konami, their ex-lover is gonna detail OD more this year. More information is gonna come out. I don't think the games are gonna come out, but the information will emerge throughout the course of the year that it will be an episodic series of experiential games made in collaboration with Kojima's favorite horror directors. I've spoken about this on the show before. I'm convinced this is what OD is. I'm imagining something kind of Supermassive-esque with the Dark Pictures anthology, but kind of crossing that with Telltale. It's like these are going to be kind of bite-sized, somewhat unrelated experiential games. And the first one's Jordan Peele, but the second one is Ari Aster, that kind of thing.
will it be on Xbox's new client that will also have Candy
Yeah,
Crush on it?
the
That's
mobile
big
client.
question.
Yeah, right next to Candy Crush, you'll get Kojima's OD. Yeah, that's
Nice.
my third and final prediction.
Very good.
And I'll throw in a bonus fourth as well, seeing as James did. Alan Wake 2 will get a physical edition later this year, coinciding with the first DLC drop. Surely that has to happen.
No, the
Game
second.
of the year
Surprised it
edition.
hasn't.
No, everything on
Second
there.
DLC
Everything on a disc. Like
Everything
that's
on
it.
a disc.
Game
Yeah.
of the Year edition. Press start Game of the Year edition.
I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to get
it out
both
there.
DLC this year, though, are we?
Or maybe we'll get like the Remedy collection, like the Criterion collection, and it's like,
Oh.
ooh, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, I have a rapid fire question for you all before we get to the wiki and wrap up. We've got an hour and 10 minutes. It's a long boy, this one. What game is next on your to play list? Thinking of 2024, Kieran. What's the next cab out the rank?
Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Shannon.
The Last of Us remastered. I'm just gonna say because part
Nice.
2 remastered. Yeah.
Brody. He's poor
What?
Shannon's checked out.
whatever Kieran gives me to review, I don't know. Whatever's like
I
music,
actually
right?
did download Katana Zero for my Switch. That was going to be the first game I played on the flight. I've never played it before, and I feel like it's a very UNS game. So
Speedrun it.
That might be my next one. Yeah. James?
If I didn't work for Press Start, it would be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Dragon's Dogma. But I'll definitely
would have
review
no interest in
something.
You're not
anything
gonna
else
play
until
anything
then.
for 6 weeks. That's
I would just replay
Hard
the
to
Resident
believe.
Evils all over again.
Replay
or
The Last of Us.
I
4
believe
games.
it.
No, or catch up on like other games I've missed. So
Why
Yeah.
didn't you give No Return a go? The new mode in The Last of Us. Maybe
I'm
that'd be your jam.
I'm alright.
Are you
I've
going to
played that
replay
game.
Immortality on PS5?
I should, like, conceptually, but I won't.
Fair enough.
All right, let's play What the Wiki, the Press Start podcast game show with the previous week's winner reads part of the
still got
Wikipedia
this more
page.
show.
For
I
an
forgot about
unknown
What the
game
Wiki.
where the contestants must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after one person scores 2 points. Do we all still have the energy? I know it's late. I know it's hot.
come
We're all
this
still
far.
recording.
We got to do it.
We're in deep. All right, James, the show is yours
Jesus.
here on out.
Okay,
You were the winner
let's
last
go.
week. 3 points to your name.
The gameplay, no, God, oh my God, gameplay resembles closely that of its predecessors, with gameplay set in the third-person view and divided amongst elements of combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. The difficulty of both combat and puzzles can be set separately. In the case of puzzle difficulties, there is a difference between medium and hard, considerably. One of the puzzles on medium requires simple pattern recognition, while the same puzzle on hard requires complex knowledge of Shakespearean plays. The game is a survival horror video game in which players take control of somebody, a teenager who awakens from a nightmare in a shopping mall and tries to return home to their father,
Brodie?
while navigating environments that oscillate between reality and the other world. A bloodier
Brodie?
supernatural version. Are you Brodie? Yes.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Is it the medium?
It's not. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Don't be sorry. It's fine.
Ewan.
Yes, Ewan.
Oh, no, you said third person, didn't you? Layers of Fears 2.
No. To aid in exploration, the main character obtains a flashlight and a radio early on, the latter of which crackles when monsters are in proximity. They can find health, including energy drinks and beef jerky, to lure monsters away from the main character's path.
Shannon.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you
I was going to say.
try. Go on.
You
I
may
was
as well
going to say Little Nightmares too, but it's
No,
not.
it's not.
say when we're all back, please.
You're all back.
Okay.
Oh shit. Okay. The game is a 2003 survival video game developed by Konami and published by Konami. The game was released from May.
Shannon.
Yes, Shannon.
Bloody Nightmares 2.
Brodie. Brodie.
Is that okay?
A direct sequel to the first game, it follows Heather, a teenager
Brodie.
who becomes
Brody's buzzed in.
Brody. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, Brody.
Is it Silent Hill 3?
It is Silent Hill 3.
Oh,
Congratulations.
wow. Shakespearean
s-
knowledge.
yeah.
That really threw me.
Yeah, well, that's how it works. Okay. Next, Brody 1, everyone none. The game, you've all got a chance here, so listen, Shannon. The game is an action-adventure game in which players control the main character in the game from a fixed third-person perspective as they capture ghosts. The game features 2 modes of gameplay, a
Shannon.
single-player... Yes, Shannon.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Brodie.
It is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh.
Well done, Shannon.
Very good.
Has anyone worked out the theme yet?
No.
No.
Supernatural games.
I like to think that I maybe have a grasp of it. But
Okay, well, let's go.
What was the
The
first
game
one?
has you... playing as an aged version of the main character, using stealth, close quarters combat, and traditional series combat. The overheard third...
Shannon.
Yes, Shannon.
Uncharted 3.
No.
Kieran.
Metal
Gear Solid 4?
It is. That's really annoying because no one has to go. Find something.
I haven't got a point yet.
Okay, let's...
Brodie, Shannon, Kieran all entered the scoring 1 point apiece.
Yeah,
but because of his clean sweep last week, James is currently in first on 3
Ewan,
points.
nil pois.
No clean sweeps happening today.
Okay, this isn't
James
the
will hang on
theme.
to his
This
lead.
isn't part of the theme, so I'm just going to say it, okay?
All right.
The game is the first video game led by this developer and drew inspiration from the battles from one of their previous games. The game began development in 2013, originally being envisioned as an expansion of said game, then as an MMO spin-off. It was then spun off as an independent project, in part due to its initial technology.
Ewan.
Yes, Ewan.
Oh. Is this Halo Wars?
It's not Halo Wars. According to a Kotaku report, the game has undergone multiple changes in direction and scope during development, exceeding its budget multiple times.
Brodie?
Oh, no. Can I buzz back in?
Did someone just buzz in?
Brodie?
Yes, Brodie.
Is it Beyond Good and Evil?
It's
2?
not Beyond Good and Evil.
Shannon.
Shannon. Ah, I'm scared.
Oh, well,
Say it.
Beyond. No, it's not. Well, that I was going to say that, but then you made me think.
We'll say what you want to say. Say it.
No. No, I don't know.
Shannon's suddenly worried that Brodie's going to hunt him down and kill him in his sleep.
Well, no.
Say what you're going to say.
Say your answer.
Star Citizen 2.
No,
Ewan.
it's not. Speak your truth. Ewan.
Beyond Good and Evil 2?
No, Brodie already said that.
I thought
No,
you
he
cut
said
him
the
off
original.
before the
That's why I
2.
was confused.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I thought you cut him off before he said the sequel, and I was going to sweep that. Anyhow, carry on.
I'm confused.
Okay, you're all back in, but get
Should
ready.
we all guess Beyond Good and Evil?
No. Gameplay was redesigned multiple times, focusing variously on naval exploration and ship-to-ship
Brodie.
Shannon.
Oh, no!
I heard Shannon first.
Yep.
Skull and
Yep.
boners.
No, Shannon.
dream
Yeah.
game.
My first 3 games were sequels to games getting remasters this year. Or remakes. But, yeah, that last one was
Just for the fans.
Its own thing in every way.
a quick... Yeah, anyway, let's move on.
So
Congrats, Shannon.
where that's
would've
ended
thought?
up then? Oh, I got it wrong. Hang on, sorry. Yeah, Shannon's in second place then. 2 points. He'll be hosting next week. James still in first with 3, but Brodie and Kieran both picked up a point each there as well. Ewan yet to enter the scoring. He's on nil pois. What is this?
Business as usual.
Good. With that, let's bring it in
Nothing
to what was
unremarkable.
this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Once again, brought to you today by SteelSeries and their new range of Alias microphones. Subscribe to us on a listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at press.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon,
Yeah, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty. On the
James,
Yes, you can find me on X at Jams. ATJAMZ.
Kieran,
I'm also on X, HASH_BRAUN.
and Brodie.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brodie_DG.
And I've been your host, Ewan Roxburgh. You can follow me on Twitter at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming. Sorry the podcast went so long. We're all super hot and sticky. I'm sorry.
Bye.